live stream, going live on a live stream. Hello. This is my first live stream, and it's also going to be a video, so I should probably say words. Usually I go live stream on TikTok Live, but I don't really like TikTok. I'm going to keep it a buck, and I don't really like their streaming service, so I thought maybe we'll just try doing live streams, not on TikTok Live, you know? Somewhere else. Maybe YouTube, where we can do things better. I don't know. It's an option, you know? It's an option. So here I am. Uh, and yeah, uh, in these live streams, I'll either engage with chat or I'll just make up my own stuff, like about what we've been talking about on the stuffs this week. I'm a professional. I'll have you know. In fact, if you go to my page and scroll down, you'll see just how much of a professional I am. I am the utmost of professionals. I am the only professional. Nobody is more professional than I am. But that's enough rambling. Uh, so yeah, what did I talk about this week? I just posted a video on agnostic atheism. That's nice. Explaining to people how agnostic atheism works, because a lot of people don't seem to understand the concept, the difference between there is agnostic and then there is atheist. This is true, but then there's also agnostic atheism. Hello, and Gnostic atheism and agnostic theism and Gnostic theism. So somebody thought they had a gotcha moment in one of my comments. They're like, "Oh, so you admit that you don't know if there's a God or not?" Like, yeah, from day one. That's what I've always said. You know, hello, welcome. That's what I've always said. I don't know for sure if there is or is not a God, but I don't believe that there is one. Agnostic, atheist, and it's I don't know. It's a weird thing when I get into arguing definitions with people, like basic definitions, and it's my least favorite thing to do. Happy New Year. Is it a new year somewhere? I don't keep up on things. Because people say like, oh, you say there might be a God, that means you're agnostic if you don't know. No, it's yes and no. You're right, and you're right, but you're not completely right. In Brazil, it's New Year. Well, Happy New Year. I am in the United States, uh, uh, middle of the United States, so it is not New Year here. But Happy New Year to you. That's exciting. It's very exciting. Yeah, it's always great. Am I good at geography? I know some geographicalness of the world. I know some geography. That's yeah. Um, I know like where some stuff is located, but no, I would not claim to be good at geography. American bro. I feel like a lot of Americans are like that. I mean, I do care about the rest of the world. I'm just not smart. I'm not educated on uh, anything. Hello. It's hard to be educated on stuff. It takes time. Who's learning geology? I can't even say it. Geography. Where is? Don't give me a geography. Where is Latvia? That's like that's like in Europe somewhere. I cannot say I know the capital of Argentina. I know like there's like North America with like the US and Canada and Mexico, and then there's like South America with like a lot of countries down there. I think you said you're from Brazil. Brazil's in South America. It's like around there. You know Europe? Not really. I guess I don't really know. I guess I really don't know geography at all. Now that I think about it, now that like I'm really like scanning and searching my brain for like topics on geography, I guess I don't know. Well, this is an atheist channel. We're not here to talk about geography. We're here to show how little I know about the topic of religion. Just open Google Maps. No. Why would I do something like that? Especially Google Maps is easier to open on your phone, and I'm using my phone for the live stream because I could not get it to work on my computer. I was trying. Do I have contact with homosexual people? I'm a homosexual people. Does that count? I would imagine it's really interesting. It's good. It's good. It's good stuff to know. It's good stuff to know how the world works and where stuff is. This is to show how little you know about religion. Well, right now we're talking about geography, so like I'm not even like I can't even show you how little I know because we're talking about geography. Forza Horizon 3, I don't know anything about it. On which planet do we live? We live on the Earth. We live on the planet Earth in our solar system. Does our solar system have a name? Or is it just like our solar system? I know there's the Milky Way, but like, I don't think the solar system, I'm sure it does. It has to. I just got hearing that is what you're saying. Oh, sorry, I'm just rambling with chat right now. Hello from Taco Bell. That is a nice place to be. It's also your name. I need to drink some water. I do need to drink some water. Water's good. Always drink water. Try not to choke on it. I do not play Elden Ring. What subject do I know best on? Religious studies, probably. I also really like space. I'm a huge space nerd, too. What means H2O? Well, the 2 is supposed to be up if it's like water. Are you willing to learn about religion? I'm always willing to learn about religion. That's what my whole page, my whole channel is about. Religion, and mainly just me speaking out against it, promoting atheism. So I'm always willing to learn. Religious studies is my hobby. Missing the Baja Blast. Good thing I don't drink the Baja Blast. I'm not a drink person. I never get drinks at restaurants. I'm atheist. Well, hello. Welcome. I also am atheist. Yeah, religious studies is a huge hobby of mine, so I'm always trying to learn about religion and whatnot. Which is the first Christian country? I don't know that. Probably somewhere in the Middle East is where Christianity was supposed to, hi, my cat's staring at me, was supposed to have originated, you know, where Jesus was. And I don't know if it's like right where like Asia and Africa are. Armenia, that makes sense. Hi, kitten. You want to come say hi to the people? People like cats, right? you like cats? Do you pray to God? I don't believe in God, so I do not typically find myself praying to any God. I was raised Christian. I was a devout Christian the first 20 plus years of my life, so I did find myself often praying to God throughout the day. Wanted to make sure all of my steps and all of my actions and everything aligned with His will. Wanted to make sure I was doing well. I've made a choice picking up a white cat while wearing a black shirt, but it's fine. I also made a choice picking up a cat when I have cat allergies, but I've made a choice owning 3 cats when I have cat allergies, so you know that the bridge has already been crossed. I can't. But she's purring. She's so happy about it. How old am I? I am 26. I was raised Catholic, but the last couple years of me being a Christian, I was not denominational. So before, because a lot of people say like, oh, so you were raised Catholic, that's the problem. Well, it's not the problem, but I do agree Catholicism isn't great. Why are Americans not learning geography? I would hope it's not just Americans. This is not my main field of study. It's not my main interest. Hi. 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 My main field of interest is religious studies. So like what this channel is about, promoting atheism and whatnot. I also love space. I love talking about space. She is a nice cat. She's purring. She's very happy to be held. Pina is a simple creature. She likes attention. Do you believe life can arise from non-life? Well, it would appear that that's what happened. You know, life had to come from somewhere, so it probably came from non-life, so at some point down the line, probably happened. Can't learn without religion without geography? You're probably right, honestly. That's not like the main thing. Maybe I'm wrong. Right. Do not know where exactly Israel is. You do got me there. Cat looks evil. The main reason I love geckos and cats of all sorts, the main reason you love them is because they look evil. You think the kitty's the second coming of Christ? Maybe. Maybe. Oh, she's a little too cute to. She doesn't really fit the narrative. The second coming of Christ sounded a little bit more intense in the Bible. She's just a cute kitten. Well, she's not a kitten. She's like 11. And she's got mittens. She's one of those cats that's got little mittens. Hello, my love. Am I good at chess? I don't play chess. Oh, it's just that easy. Taylor, you should now be a moderator. I thought we were gonna have to set that up later. Egypt is born in what is now Palestine. Now it's Palestine. Well, now we know. This is why it's good to talk to people. Because you learn things. Because, yeah, I'm not good with geography. I'm mostly focused on scripture and arguments for the existence of a God, the sciences, stuff like that. But you're right, that would be good information to know. Never thinks we insult each other. No, Palestine is a country. I didn't say anything. I didn't say anyone was insulting anybody. I'm not trying to start a fight or anything. I think my camera's crooked. In favor of the existence of God? Well, I would love there to be a God. I'm in favor of there being the existence of a God, of there being a God. I just don't believe that there is one. I would kind of like there to be one, maybe not the Abrahamic God. Not really a huge fan of that, but something. Or, an afterlife, the supernatural, spirits, things like that. I would love there to be something more out there. But the evidence just is not in favor of that. Are you giving me math problems now? That's, it's 6, isn't it? Yeah. Hey, I said it before Jack did. I didn't copy off of Jack. I'm just saying. I said it like right as Jack came up, so I did not copy off Jack. I'm smart, kind of. Math was like my worst subject, but I've been forced to get a little bit better at it because where I work, I sometimes have to count inventory, and being able to do quick math in my head just makes that a lot easier. But I still do find myself pulling out my calculator on a regular basis. Mostly just because I don't trust my own judgment. Recently had something brought up on Goddard's ontological argument in a conversation recently. Do you have a quick or simple way to shut it down? Brought up on the ontological argument. Let me refresh on what that is. Real quick. What about physics? Physics is useful. Essentially, that if the universe is not chaotic, there must be a God. Oh, I reject that completely. It's a misunderstanding of how the universe works to begin with, because the universe is very chaotic. I mean, if you've heard of supernova explosions or the Great Expansion, even it can be very chaotic. The early solar system was very chaotic. I mean, just look at how many craters are on the moon and some of the other terrestrial planets. That's from impacts. That's from getting hit. It's the current standing theory on how we got the moon was that we got hit by a Mars-sized object that destroyed the Mars-sized object and nearly destroyed the planet Earth, and the debris of that formed the moon. So there's a lot of chaos, but the thing is, we've just kind of our section of the universe, our little solar system, is relatively quiet. There's still possibility for collisions here and there, but it's relatively quiet. There's a cat hair in my mouth. Just essentially because we've run out of stuff to hit. The early solar system, like I said, was chaotic. There was a lot of planets and protoplanets and other rocks all crashing into each other. But they've all crashed into each other. Stuff's collided, stuff's been yeeted out of the solar system. I like to compare it to a game of pool. When you start the game of pool and you hit the pool ball into all the other pool balls, you hit a lot of them and they all bounce off of one another. And as you keep playing, you're more likely to hit other balls. But As more of those cue balls go off the table, you're not hitting as many of them. And that's just where we're at right now. We've settled into our orbits, and there's nothing in our orbits to hit because we've already hit it in the past, or used our gravity to yeet it out. Um, so that's just kind of what it is. We could still get hit by a collision of some sort in the future. It's relative calm, but it's also, and I hate just kind of going to this because it just comes across as dismissive, but it's kind of God of the gaps. Because it's, I don't understand how order can come from chaos. How life can come from non-life. All this stuff. It's like, just because we don't know doesn't mean it must have been a god. Uh, so that's the thing. But the other explanation I think would be much better, if that made any sense in my incoherent rambling. Theists claim to know there is a God. Atheists claim to know that there isn't because of the evidence agnostics don't know. Well, atheists don't claim anything. We just lack belief in a God. Theists believe in a God, hold the belief in a God. Gnostic theists claim to know for a fact this God exists. Just like an agnostic atheist, or I think an anti-theist is what it's also called, would claim to know that God does not exist. But then you have people like me who are agnostic atheists, who I don't hold a belief in a God because I don't have the reason to, but I don't claim to know if there is or is not a God. And there are also agnostic theists that are similar. Then there are just agnostics who just kind of don't really put a ticket in either hat, and I don't really see an issue with that. There's one of many things. I think it's that they see order in the chaos, like universal laws being consistent, or time flowing in one direction. Just various things which imply that this is not a maximally chaotic universe. At least theoretically, there could be significantly more chaos. Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot to, because it kind of comes down to when people say if the Earth was any closer or further from the sun, life couldn't exist, even though it could. But the conditions for Earth are pretty perfect. I had teachers growing up who would say, well, can you imagine if life came to be on Mars? And the thing is, no, I can't. Because as far as we know, life as we know it can't come about on Mars, but it can on Earth. And when you look at the universe and how many different galaxies and solar systems and planets there are, it's damn near infinite. And if not infinite, an inconceivably large number. So somewhere in there, the chances of there being a planet that can harbor life are almost, yes, are almost, 100% somewhere in there. Even if the odds are 1 in a billion, there are probably a billion planets. So stuff happens. The universe is big. The universe is old. The universe has a lot of stuff in it, and the universe does a lot of stuff, and we don't understand all of that stuff. And it's interesting, and we like learning about all that stuff. And I think the scientific way is a lot cooler because you dissect that stuff and try to really learn about it a lot more. Because I mean, even if you believe in a God, saying, "Oh, God did it," that's cool. But like, I want more. There's more interesting things to it. So really, it just comes down to, yeah, the universe is crazy and how it works. And I can absolutely see how people would look at all of this and say, "Oh, it has to have been intelligently designed, because how else could it have come about?" It just did. And I'm of the mindset of I'm not completely willing to throw any kind of supernatural intervention out the window. But we just don't have any reason to believe that there is. And especially when you look back at human history, we used to take things like the sun rising and setting, seasons changing, things like that, and attribute them to something divine, because we didn't have a better explanation. Now we have better explanations, that we filled those gaps with actual, credible, evidence-based explanations, to where we don't need the supernatural. We have no need for those hypotheses. So it doesn't seem reasonable to me to continue to use the same line of thinking of, I don't know, therefore it must be God, or must be something supernatural, when that line of thinking has failed us so many times throughout human history. And it seems much more likely that there is an explanation out there, and that hopefully one day we will find it. And maybe that explanation is God. Maybe it's something supernatural. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'm open to it, but we need the evidence there first. And that's the thing that really bothers me. People say, well, it has to be a God, it has to be a God, it has to be a God. You keep jumping to the conclusion without having the evidence to get there. Sure, it could be a God. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not opposed to it. But we gotta have the evidence. You gotta get us there, you know? It's a teacher in school isn't going to just tell you the answers to a math problem. They're going to explain to you how you can figure out the math problem and get to the answer yourself. And that's what I feel like we need to be doing. So, yeah, universe be crazy. And there's a lot that we don't understand. There's so much that we don't understand. There is so much. We don't even know what all is at the bottom of our oceans. You know, we don't know what all is in the ground underneath our feet. So the idea of knowing anything on a relative scale with the cosmos is no. We just don't know so much. But maybe one day, hopefully one day. I'm glad that I was born in a time period where we know as much as we do, but I'm really sad that I'm not born in a more in the future time period where we know more. But it's what it is. I've always handled the argument along the lines of, the reason you see order is because you are made to understand and are used to this universe, so chaos appears to be order to us. That's also a good argument. But the gaps of universe is a lot more comprehensible for theists, I think. Maybe. I hate using like God of the Gap stuff. I don't like using arguments that is just like a brick wall. It just like stops the conversation. I much prefer to kind of play with something else that we can actually bat back and forth. So God of the Gaps just always seems like a wall stopper. I like yours better than God of the Gaps personally, because that is a good point. You know, order, chaos from what perspective? From what you've grown up to know. You know, I mean, heck, there are people who grow up in less safe parts of the world where there's a lot of chaotic stuff going on that is just their normal day-to-day life. You know, so it's relative, and especially because we don't have like another universe to compare to. So it's like we don't know, is this more chaotic than another universe? Is, you know, could our universe be more or less chaotic? I don't know. You know, we don't really have enough things to look into that. Because yeah, the universe be crazy. And again, I just like to say the universe is big, it's old, it has a lot of stuff, and it does a lot of stuff. Quite literally, when it comes to like the flow of time, scientists theorize the universe will reach maximum entropy at some point, which can either be seen as perfect order or maximally chaos. I'm sad I won't be around to see it. It's very trippy concept to me, thinking about, because there's kind of perceived ends to the universe. You know, like what you said, where maximum order or maximum chaos. But there's also the heat death idea that the further out, because everything's expanding, the further out everything will expand, the less heat, the less energy that will be compacted, so everything will just get colder, and stars will no longer be formed. The last stars will just die out, and all the stars will die. It'll just be the heat death of the universe. It'll take several billion years. I know, but I want to see it. that's that's the thing. I wish so badly that I could see all the, why can't I be an eternal being, you know? I mean, heck, even little stuff like our moon is gradually drifting away from us, and I don't know what's going to happen there, you know. And again, it's going to be ridiculously long until anything happens. But that also makes you think that, so, you know, back maybe in the dinosaur times, the moon might have been bigger and like closer, and like I really like the moon, and I would have liked to see that. Do you really want to see it though? Imagine spending that much time seeing basically nothing. But I want to know. I want to know. I want to know. And there was a part of my deconstruction early on where I just wanted to know things. It was when I left Catholicism. I thought I had a pretty good understanding of the world. I thought I had a pretty good relationship with God, so I had a think of how things worked. You know, the supernatural impact, the supernatural causes of the world. And when I really started studying Scripture more and realized Catholicism isn't really it for Christianity, that was the first big rug that got pulled out from underneath me. Of, oh, I don't know things. I don't have the understanding that I think I have. And then, especially as I went further down, you know, leaving Christianity, leaving the belief in a God, um, even studying science and knowing how little we know, I just went from thinking I had a good understanding to understanding that I don't know anything. So I want to know. I want to see everything and learn everything that I can about everything. I just think it's fascinating. It's cool. My cat is gonna zoomies right over me. Smokies has the zoomies right now. Is you good? Um, I want to know so badly, and the fact that our lives are so finite and short, like the best of us, the most fortunate of us, get a little over 100 years, and that's it. It takes hundreds of years, thousands of years to figure certain things out. And yeah, science is kind of moving a little bit faster now, which is good. You know, it's better than being born in like, you know, the fifth century or whatever. But still, just it's gonna take time, you know, and then developing different um, different technology and knowledge to explore, to have people physically explore even the rest of the solar system, or you know, beyond our galaxy. It's gonna take so much time, and probably not gonna be around to see a lot of it. You know, it's it sucks. I don't like it. A big fan of my work. Well, thank you. I don't think it's anything all too special, but you know, that's just me. You won't hear me brag about myself very often. But yeah, there's some predictions that if you can make it in 2040, make it to 2040, most if not all aging related diseases will be cured. There's still possibility to know everything yet. Maybe. I do. I often find myself thinking about how much longer people are living on average now than they were, you know, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, and I wonder how high that number can go. You know, especially if we are working on things, you know, like stopping age related diseases and whatnot. How far can that go? In 10,000 years, is the average age that a person lives to going to be like 200 or something, or is there a cap? Is there a limit? You know, just something to think about, because it would be cool. I would love to live to be 200 years old. Hello. Would you ever pivot into the debating arena? I'm not one for debates, honestly. I think they're all well. Also, hello. Uh, I've seen you in my comments, and you've made a couple of videos on me. Very nice to meet you. Hello. You're not just a random chat person. I know you. Um, but debates are all well and good for entertainment, and they can absolutely be well and good for um, exchanging information. But I think just sitting down, open, honest conversations are much better. No one's trying to win. No one's trying to one up the other person. Uh, especially there are some debates that will last like an hour or two, and the respective parties are getting like 20 minutes to respond, 20 minutes to respond, and it just seems so broken up. And then we don't even really get to the conclusion of the topic. It's at the end of the day, we've presented a few cases, and then the debate's over. I don't know. I think open, honest conversations are a much better avenue. What is my cat scratching up right now? Smokey. Scratching up papers. Adam and Eve didn't know what good and evil is until they ate the fruit, so how could they know that it was bad to disobey God? I give that argument regularly. I think it's a good one. I think the whole Garden of Eden thing is absolutely God's fault. He creates these two people, his naive new creation, doesn't give them the knowledge of good and evil, puts that knowledge in a fruit, says don't eat the fruit, and then this all-present, all-knowing God either walks away and turns his back, or just kind of sits off to the side and watches as this tempter, who he put in the garden, tempts his naive creation to eat the fruit that they don't have a good moral compass to know that that's a bad thing to do. The whole thing was set up for failure from the beginning, I think. Well, we already have the technology to edit our genetics, using CRISPR. If we understand what makes us age, we could simply remove that code. Do you think it'd be that simple? Do you think aging would just be like a genetic code thing? It's interesting to think about. Early 1800s, 40s were the oldest average age, yeah. Smoky, 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 smoky. It's a piece of paper. It's a piece of paper. It's gonna be okay. Hi, kitten. You wanna come say hi to the people? You wanna come say hi to the people? People like cats. People like cats. If we figure out the human genome, we really could do it. The main driving factor behind aging is genetic, because a part of our DNA deteriorates and cells become worse as time goes on due to it. Aging is definitely not genetic related. It's common among everything that lives. Reversing aging might be possible, but stopping aging, I doubt it. That is a fair point. A fair rebuttal, if you will. It is interesting. There exist many creatures that are immortal who do not age, like the immortal jellyfish. Jellyfish are a whole. Once you dip into the ocean, there's all kinds of things down there that should not exist, especially like deep sea. But like, even if we can't like stop aging, because I don't really think that we should be immortal, but like, I would like another 100 years. I think I'd be content. Of course, get me to the age of 200, and I might say I want 100 more years. It's anything bigger than the small 100-year window, if that we get. Lobsters are effectively immortal. They only die because they get too big to sustain themselves. Interesting. So maybe they're not immortal. They just can't. We just don't know what age they get to because they never get there. It's interesting. Nature is interesting. But yeah, I mean, there are turtles that live to be a couple 100 years old. And there are trees. Trees can live hundreds of years old. I know that's kind of a different category of life, but There's a meme a while ago about forming a cult to create an immortal lobster god by continuously helping it molt its shell and feeding it. I think that cult should be a thing, if I'm going to be honest with you. Jellyfish are whack, and the ocean is even more whack. So by the end of it, there's just this building-sized lobster. I feel like that's a thing that we should go for. You know, I'm not much for cult activity, but I feel like that's something that maybe we should. Yeah, like let's. I mean, I wouldn't like care to like partake in it, but I donate. I donate money to it, to the Immortal Lobster Fund, for research purposes. I think that would be great for research purposes, though. Honestly, it's like let's actually help a group of lobsters continuously molt and whatnot to see if it helps prolong their life and how long it can prolong them. I think it would be a wonderful scientific experiment. I'm also surprised that no scientist has done it already. Maybe they have. I feel like I don't know. I feel like if an actual scientist heard this, they'd probably say something like, "No, you're dumb. That's not how it works. So we're not going to do that." But maybe. You should watch Debate God versus Satan by Dark Matter. I've learned a lot from it, like how God is actually referred to as Satan in the Bible verse. What is that? Watch Debate God versus Satan. I might have to. I love listening to like debates and watching like different videos, just learning more. I even am following a number of some of the popular pastors um, and evangelists that you see, you know, the megachurch pastors or whatever, or just some of like the popular online pastors or popular online Christian personalities. I'm subscribed to a lot of those just because I like hearing their thoughts, I like hearing what they have to say. I love hearing people's information. That's one of my favorite things about doing these live streams. Which this is my first one on this app. I've done almost like 50 on TikTok, just because it provides a much better platform to just talk and share ideas and open engagement and whatnot. This cartoon got talked first as decided by a coin toss, and for some weird reason the laws of gravity changed, so the coin landed on heads, I think. Interesting. So, you know, on Instagram, I feel like that place is filled with with the most horrible of the religious people. Instagram is a place where the children of arrogance and ignorance go to frolic, looking for excuses to show how big brained they are. That's my best description of the comment section. It is people who don't know a whole lot, but who very passionately think that they do. And they're just going to poo all over you and tear you apart. But then, like, not provide you good evidence. Like, they'll say, like, "Oh, you're so stupid. You have no idea what you're talking about. Of course there's a God." And they'll say, "I mean, look at the trees." You know, they'll just... It, I don't know. I don't usually engage with people on Instagram. That's one platform that I don't usually engage with commenters on. I don't engage with commenters a whole lot anyway, just because I don't have the time in my day to like get into a debate in the comment section or anything. Yeah, I've seen those comments. Yeah, it's bad, which is crazy because Instagram is currently my fastest growing platform, and I get sometimes hundreds of comments a day, including from people who are having back and forth, who aren't afraid to argue on that platform. But yeah, but I mean, I've had conversations on Instagram before. It just doesn't usually go anywhere, you know. It's just, I don't know. I've debated just not posting on Instagram anymore. But one, it's just an extra platform to get myself out on, and two, I get message requests every now and then, and some comments of just people thanking me, saying how much my content means to them, how much it's helped them, and all that. And it's just like that's what keeps me going. And that's what keeps me going on all of my platforms, honestly. Because I get a lot of negative comments, And I can't complain too loudly because I knew what I was getting myself into when I started this venture. But I get a whole sea of just poo that I have to wade through on a daily basis. And so when I get those nice comments and direct messages, it means a lot. And the thing I said before about the brain and the soul usually shuts them up. If it's someone particularly nasty, I just respond with that. Yeah, can work, you know. Yeah, I sometimes lately I've been getting a little bold in responding to some Instagram commenters. Usually just quick things to shut them down. Like somebody brought up why I speak out against Christianity and not all of these other religions out there. Um, and like they're like, you never address it or whatever, you never address other religions. I'm like, I've addressed it a few times, but it's been a minute. And so I just kind of explain to them how um, Christianity is the religion I was raised in. So it's the one I have the most knowledge of and the most experience in, the most personal grievances with. And it's also the main religion causing issues in the country that I live in. So I'm going to talk about it. I'm sure there's a lot of Christians who would love to see me, go and attack Islam or whatever, and we can gang up on them, but, that's it's not my main focus. I do mention other religions here and there, nothing solid, but kind of glancing or lumping them together. Like I said earlier in this live, I would like there to be a God, maybe not the Abrahamic God, of any of the Abrahamic religions, but a God of sorts. But yeah, or sometimes I'll just one of the things I sometimes comment with is just asking for clarity because somebody will say something that kind of sounds interesting, but I don't quite know what they're saying, or I might want them to expand upon it a little bit, so I might ask for a little bit more clarity. And sometimes they give me that clarity, sometimes they don't. This channel is probably very helpful for people trying to overcome religious trauma or that arching fear of God that seems to last forever, even after losing faith. Well, I hope so. That's definitely one of the ideas for this channel is to help people. It's to help people get out the door. It's to help people who are in Christianity, maybe plant seeds of doubt that might get them thinking, leaving. Maybe people who are on the fence, maybe people who have just left, maybe people who have never been Christian to begin with. Just to say, hey, don't. You've gotten lucky to not have partaken of that fruit. Don't partake in that fruit. But that's the direction that I try to go with this channel. It's just kind of away from, especially just like the toxic forms of Christianity, because I'm not completely opposed to every single aspect of Christianity or any other religion, but the harm that it has brought and continues to bring, I don't think can be ignored. I find it funny that if I can speak, I find it funny that people say that the universe is fine-tuned when the only part of the universe that we are sure can sustain human life is about 30% of one small planet. Yeah. Yeah. And especially, yeah, it's like I was saying earlier, what we have to observe is so small. We have so little information. It reaffirms the reason we left in the first place. Yeah. Oh no, the flood and the storm, it will happen on Mars. Maybe it already happened on Mars. Or like Venus. I sometimes wonder, like, because Venus is hot enough to rain acid and metal. It's very bad. Um, we haven't had much luck getting probes to land there and survive for very long. So I wonder, especially with how little of the planet we've really explored, I wonder if there could have been a civilization there and they just had a runaway greenhouse effect and all of the buildings and whatnot just melted and vaporized or evaporated, Maybe. I've heard of a multiverse theory about how the multiverse is evolving like life on Earth. And only universes which can produce black holes are able to rebirth themselves. And coincidentally, universes suitable for black holes are also very suitable for life. An interesting idea. Black holes. Black holes are a whole different beast altogether. Those actually terrify me. It's the unknown. I mean, that's why a lot of people are Christian and theistic to begin with, is the unknown. But, just because the unknown is scary. I mean, sure, but surely if they were as advanced as us, they would be very obvious structures, because even our structures would still be visible that far in the future. Maybe. But this is a planet where metal melts. All the probes that we have sent there have melted and disintegrated. We've lost contact with. So maybe. I don't know. Probably not. Probably not. But maybe. One of my favorite arguments against Christianity is if a watch is bad and can't show the time, you don't blame the watch, you blame the watchmaker. So if a creation is bad, it means the creator is bad. Maybe. I always like to say, because people say, well, Satan is evil and he designs it. He's the reason that bad things happen. It's like, yeah, but does anything happen that isn't according to God's plan? And is God not all-knowing? Did he not create... I mean, the Bible says he creates good and evil and light and darkness and whatnot, but also he created Satan, knowing that Satan would rebel against him and, become Satan. So, and he did it anyway. So, I always think you can twist it however you want and make excuses for God. You can even say, well, God's the divine creator. He can do whatever he wants, even if it's horrible. But you cannot say that he isn't to blame for everything. He is in charge. It is his plan and his creation, this all-knowing being. It is his fault, period. Everything is his fault, good or bad. It's like the quote from A Bug's Life. I don't know if you guys remember that. When Hopper says, first rule of leadership, everything is your fault. Maybe it is. Also, another theory about a certain type of black hole known as a curved black hole that could actually link to other universes. I've heard about some of that stuff. Black holes, wormholes, white holes. Current knowledge of black holes indicates that this is the black hole most likely to be real. Wait until the theists find out about that, yeah. Whenever someone says that the Big Bang is cause and that cause has to have another cause, I laugh, because we know for sure that the quantum physics are not causal but rather probabilistic, yeah. And it's also just like, for arguments like that, of a first cause or something like that, or the Kalam cosmological argument, I follow those arguments. I think it's William Lane Craig broke it down a lot better than I ever could. But it's just like they break it down to its simplest pieces, and it's like, we can't understand this, this doesn't work, this doesn't work. It's like, okay, I follow, and then they go, therefore God. And suddenly they're on the other side of a canyon, and I don't know how they got over there. It's sure, you could strip away all the scientific understandings. We can point to saying, I don't know, we don't know, this doesn't quite work, this doesn't make sense. But then you can't just say, therefore God. No, therefore it doesn't make sense and everything's broken. If you want to put your God in as a possible explanation, that's fine. But you gotta give the evidence to prove that there is a God, prove that the God can do these things, and prove that the God did do these things. And you especially have work to do if you want to prove that it's your specific God. If you're arguing for a generic God, there's an intelligent something, God-like something out there, that's one thing. If you're saying it's my specific God of my specific denomination, of my specific religion, that requires so much more work. It's a lot more lifting that you have to do with that idea. And it just doesn't work like that, And even more proof to prove that God actually gives a shit about us. Yeah. Prove that he actually cares. I think the deistic idea of a God is one that I feel like is more in line with reality, because it's more of a belief of a God who created everything but does not take active part in that everything, as opposed to the theistic God, like the Abrahamic God, who created everything and now takes active part in that everything. Deistic gods just created everything and then left, which is at least, I sometimes like to say it's a step to atheism. It's a step closer to atheism, because once you admit that this God isn't really interacting with reality, you have acknowledged that there's no connection. This God isn't answering prayers or doing stuff. It's almost like it doesn't exist to begin with, and that maybe all this other stuff that came about has a better explanation, and that we don't have need for the hypothesis of there being a God or anything like that. I don't know. Using God sounds more plausible, but that wouldn't prove afterlife and that our consciousness exists in any form after death, especially considering we die when our brains don't exist anymore. Yeah. And that's another thing that people like to lump together. It's if we can prove, there are people who believe that if we can prove that souls exist, that spirits of ghosts exist, then it proves God and all of this other stuff. No, it doesn't. It might give us a little bit more of a step in that direction. And if we can measure supernatural events like ghosts, then that gives us maybe the tools to measure supernatural things like gods. But one supernatural thing existing doesn't mean that all of them exist. So there could be an afterlife. Maybe there isn't a God, though. Ghosts aren't real. Well, I don't believe in ghosts or God or anything supernatural. So I'm not going to argue with you. But yeah, so not necessarily all supernatural things are connected. You got to connect them all. For a time, I actually believed that a deistic pantheon of gods was more likely than there being no gods at all. Maybe. Especially because I can absolutely see, especially the more you look at the universe and how complicated things are, you can absolutely see why people would say it has to be some kind of supernatural something, because it's an easy explanation, and it fills in gaps, because we don't like not knowing things. So a wrong answer is sometimes more comforting than no answer. I hope ghosts are real. That'd be cool. I hope ghosts are real. I so hope the ghosts are real. I have not read about the Gospel of Judas. It is on my list of things to look at. I'm not a fast reader at all, nor do I have time to read. I'm a slow reader when I have time to read. I don't have time to read very often, and I have other religious books that I like to read through and study and whatnot. So haven't gotten to all of them yet. But I am interested in the Gospel of Judas and learning more about it. Makes Christianity sound way more Greek-like. Sometimes you can find a little bit of that Greek in Christianity. Do you know about the story of Job and how evil God was to him? Oh yeah, love the story of Job. It's absolutely ridiculous. Aren't ghosts supposed to be people whose souls were trapped on Earth due to grievances they had? I don't know if that should be real. Well, maybe not. Unresolved issues. That's one idea of ghosts. But a broad idea of ghosts is just the soul of a human that has been left behind, that is now wandering around Earth. Hopefully not suffering. Hopefully doesn't have grievances or unfinished business. That would be sad. But, I don't know, maybe. God made a set with Satan and ruined a man's life. Yeah, he did. It's crazy, because, God's having, this meeting with angels, and Satan just kind of walks in. And I assume it's happening in heaven. And maybe that's a wrong assumption. But Satan just kind of walks in, after having been cast out of heaven. and by some people believe he's chained down in hell. So he's not. So he kind of just walks in, and he's like, "Hey," and God's like, "Hey, what have you been up to?" And Satan's like, "I've just been wandering around." And God says, "Oh, you must have seen my servant Job, how wonderful and upstanding he is." And Satan goes, "Well, yeah, you give him so many blessings, of course he's going to follow you. If you stop blessing him, he'd stop following you." And God says, "Bet." And lets Satan have his way with him. And it's awful. And I love bringing that up to show just like how messed up God was in that story. And I love it when people bring up, well, yeah, but God gave back Job double of that what he took, double the possessions and whatnot. So he was rewarded in the end. Job lost kids. Kids are not physical property. Kids are not something that you just replace. If you lose a kid, that is an individual child that you have a connection with and love. It's if you lose X amount of kids, just because you get double that amount later on, it doesn't change the fact that you've lost X amount of kids. That doesn't take away that loss and that pain. But the story of Job absolutely, and other places in the Bible, absolutely treat kids as more of just property than anything else. They can just be replaced. Depending on what type of ghost, it'd be cool if all people end up being ghosts and have exclusive haunting lounge, exclusive ghost lounge. Maybe we all just become ghosts in the afterlife, and like some people, like manifesting is a choice, and like interacting with the world is a choice. So like you can't just be a ghost, just kind of wandering around and not interacting with the world. It's interesting. Maybe that's why a lot of ghosts are like, supposed ghosts are old people from like way back when, because they got bored after like a couple hundred years of just living in the shadows. They're like, all right, I'm gonna start moving some shit around in this person's house. People plot twist. God and Satan is cool with each other, and the whole rival thing is for show. I believe it. And God would revive his kid, not just replace him. Exactly. You should revive the kids and then give him more. I think that would be fair. I've heard many arguments that because God pays us back in heaven for infinity, that the finite life we live now means nothing by contrast, and he can do whatever he wants. Yeah. They fail to realize that forgiveness lies in the choice of the one who was wronged. Yeah. Hello. Yeah. And that's always, it's the people who believe that, and believe therefore that the pain and suffering in this life is whatever, or God can do whatever, because this isn't our home. We get another wonderful afterlife. What if we don't? It's like we don't need to take care of the planet because God's just gonna end the world and we're gonna go up to heaven. What if we don't? What if you're really putting all your eggs in that basket there? What if there is no heaven? What if there is no afterlife? What if there is none of that? And you're just throwing away the only life that we know we have. It's putting a lot of stock in something that we don't have any reason to believe in. That's where like the Pascal's wager thing, I like to like flip it around on theists. Just like, all right, but what if you're wrong? Do you really lose nothing? My dad is sort of like this. He's not particularly concerned about the well-being of people on Earth and the future of it because he won't be around to experience it. Yeah. Why are fast food restaurants congregating here? I don't know. Debating on if I should kick them or not, but maybe we'll just see what happens. We could just ignore them. I prefer Taco Bell personally, but that's just me. I do not like I'm not a very big fried chicken person. I'm gonna be honest with you. So fried chicken's never a selling point. I am not Nicki Minaj. Do you guys remember? It was a few years ago, probably more than that. Um, when Taco Bell was like rated the number one Mexican restaurant in the country in the U.S. And it's just like, is it though? There's a loud noise. Maybe someone's breaking into my house. Maybe it's finally time for me to die. If there's an afterlife, I'll let you guys know. Yeah. We're just like talking about more deep philosophical and like religious concepts, and then all of a sudden fast food restaurants are fighting. Come back as a ghost and tell us. I think I will, you know? That's what I'm saying. It's like, when people die, they should absolutely just come back as ghosts and like mess around with stuff and just to let us know there's something else out there, you know? I've kind of run out of questions to ask. That's okay. Probably not going to be on the live for too much longer anyway. I try to make these lives a little bit longer, but I got started a little bit later because I was having a hard time getting the live stream to work. I was going to do it on my laptop, but no. And I'm not technologically inclined at all, so I was having issues, and it's me, so things just weren't working. So I was a little late to the live tonight anyway. But oh well. We're having a revival at my church. I don't really want to go, and it's problematic. I mean, if you don't want to go, don't go. I would hope there's nobody forcing you to go or anything, but if it's not something you're comfortable going to. Parents force me. Yeah, that's not going to help. Yeah, that's just kind of one of those things where hopefully one day you can move out and make your own choices. Until then, just kind of hang in there. It gets better. As someone who needed to get out of their parents' house, a lot of things get better. Hello.
Hello.
It's probably a good thing that I didn't leave Christianity until I was moved out because, yeah, I would not have wanted to have that be a thing. You know, I would not have wanted that to be an issue that I had to go through with my parents. Doesn't sound fun. I don't think they would have been awful with it. I feel lucky that my parents are very tolerant of me being an atheist. I officially came out as a non-believer at 14. Well, good. I'm glad. Mine are fine. Mine haven't really put up too much of a fight about it. Some other family members have, but mine have been pretty chill about it. Imagine if Jesus comes back and goes into a Fig Newton factory, and when he sees they aren't making And cookies, he closes it forever. Maybe. Respect religions highly, but I can't stand the bigotry in my church. And that's a big thing. You know, it's sometimes there are better churches out there. There are better churches and there are worse churches. There are more accepting and tolerant and loving churches, and then there are churches that are just bigoted, and people too. You know, there are good Christians and bad Christians. I was raised Christian, so the vast majority of the people in my life, family and friends, were also raised Christian and are still Christian, and I still get along with a lot of them. They're still wonderful people, you know, but then there's some who aren't. The location of Jesus' second coming will occur in the kitchen of the KFC restaurant. Maybe. And I just want, I don't know if people watching this, because I'm going to leave this up on YouTube. I don't know if people watching this will have access to the live chat, but Taco Bell and KFC have been fighting in my chat for the past like 10 or so minutes. It's pretty good. I told you this in your brain. I know because it's real. I said so. Jesus is just Colonel Sanders. Colonel Sanders, maybe. Yeah, it's quite comical. It's just Taco Bell and KFC just shouting back and forth to each other and roasting each other. It's kind of comical. Should be able to enable chat after stream ends. It usually has a playback. Okay. This is my first time going live on YouTube, and considering the fact that it took me like an hour to just get the damn thing set up, we'll see about what happens after. But I'll get better. I'm gonna start doing live streams on YouTube probably every week on Tuesday nights, sometime after 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Just because I like doing live streams. I've been doing them on TikTok, but the TikTok lives are they're a lot more strict on what you can and cannot say, to the point where even if you don't say something that's actually bad, you might say something that they don't like and get kicked. So you always just have to, you're always on thin ice on that platform. You don't really have the freedom to speak. So I had decided that when I got to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, I would start doing lives over here. And then I made a post that rocketed us straight past 1,000 subscribers and has continued to rocket us past it. So here I am now. So we'll start doing live streams here, and I hope people enjoy it. But I do think I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here and call it a night. So thank you, everyone who stopped by, everyone who's watching this video later on the YouTubes. I hope it's somewhat entertaining. I hope you weren't expecting anything too professional or anything, because I'm not. I'm just kind of not. I have a link to my gaming YouTube channel at the bottom of my profile that will show you just how non-professional and whatnot I am. So if you're hoping for professional, sorry, but if you like just this goofy, awkward, whatever me speaking, then that's me, and hopefully you'll enjoy more of these live streams in the future. So thank you so much for stopping by. I need to figure out how to end the live stream. Bye-bye. There it is.